A broke college student sleeping on a mattress in an apartment would one day change how the entire world listens to music. Millions of people use Spotify every day. They press play, listen to their songs, and never stop to ask one simple question. Who built it? The story behind Spotify isn't about music. It's about poverty, rejection, piracy, risk, and one young man who refused to accept that the music industry was broken. There was a teenager in Sweden who loved computers more than anything else. He was teaching himself how websites worked. While other kids were playing games, he was building them. He wasn't doing it for fame. He simply loved solving problems. Daniel didn't come from a life of opportunities. Everything had to be earned. Every skill had to be learned. Every mistake had to become a lesson. The internet was changing fast. New companies appeared every month. People realized they didn't need an office to build a successful business. They just needed an idea. Daniel started learning programming, design, and online business. Most people had no idea what he was doing. Some thought he was wasting his time. Others believed internet companies were another temporary trend. His talent started attracting attention. Companies needed websites. Startups needed developers. Daniel started taking projects. For the time, he realized his computer could become more than a hobby. It could become his future. He gained confidence. Confidence that he could build things people actually wanted. Confidence is often worth far more than money. Daniel made a decision that shocked people around him. He left college. For families, that sounds like failure. A degree was considered security. Leaving university looked like throwing away the future. Daniel saw something different. The internet was moving fast. He believed real-world experience could teach him more than another classroom ever could. It was a gamble. The risk began paying off. He launched businesses, sold companies, and worked with entrepreneurs. Every project taught him something. By his 20s, he had already achieved something many people spend decades chasing: financial freedom. Life had a completely different challenge waiting for him. Millions of people had started downloading music. The music industry was furious. Record labels were losing money. Artists were worried about their future. Daniel looked at the problem differently. He asked a question that almost nobody else was asking. What if people weren't trying to steal music? What if they were simply trying to access in a way? That single question would eventually reshape the music industry. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about one question. Why were millions of people breaking the law just to listen to music? The music industry was in chaos. CD sales were collapsing. Piracy websites were spreading across the internet. Record labels fought back with lawsuits. Governments introduced regulations. Nothing worked. Most people saw pirates as the enemy. Daniel saw something different. He believed people weren't refusing to pay for music. They were refusing to wait. The real problem wasn't technology. The real problem was that the legal experience was worse than the one. That single realization would become the foundation of Spotify. Daniel knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed someone who understood business at the level. That person was Martin Lawrenson. Martin had already built technology companies and had experience scaling businesses. When Daniel shared his vision, it sounded almost impossible. A service where people could instantly play millions of songs, no waiting, no downloads, press play. The team obsessed over speed. A song couldn't take seconds to load. It had to start almost instantly. If users clicked play, the music had to feel immediate. Months turned into years. The pressure kept growing. Money was being spent. Time was running out. The music industry was still skeptical. Friends wondered if the idea was too ambitious. Competitors were appearing everywhere. Failure seemed like a possibility. Daniel refused to lower his standards. He believed that if they compromised the experience, they would lose the future. Then after negotiations, something extraordinary happened. One major label became willing to listen. Then another. Slowly, the impossible began to look possible. It wasn't because Daniel had the company. It wasn't because he had the most money. It was because he presented a vision. A future where artists could earn money, listeners could enjoy access, and piracy would finally have a real alternative. The industry that once rejected the idea was beginning to believe it. The biggest test hadn't arrived yet. Building Spotify was difficult. Launching Spotify would be even harder, because when the product finally reached users, the entire world would decide whether Daniel's vision was brilliant or one of the biggest failures in technology history. For accuracy, one important correction before we continue. The common broke student framing is a storytelling hook, but it shouldn't imply facts that aren't true. Daniel Ek did not build Spotify while living in poverty. He was a young entrepreneur who left university early, built several successful businesses, and then co-founded Spotify with Martin Lawrenson. I'll keep the storytelling cinematic without inventing facts. The idea that changed music forever. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about one question. Why were millions of people breaking the law just to listen to music? The answer wasn't simple. Asterisk in the 2000s, the music industry was in chaos. Asterisk CD sales were collapsing. Asterisk piracy websites were spreading across the internet. Asterisk millions of songs could be downloaded in minutes, free. Record labels fought back with lawsuits. Governments introduced regulations. Nothing worked. The harder they tried to stop piracy, the faster it grew. Most people saw pirates as the enemy. Daniel saw something different. He believed people weren't refusing to pay for music. They were refusing to wait. Why buy a CD when the internet could deliver any song instantly? The real problem wasn't technology. The real problem was that the legal experience was worse than the one. That single realization would become the foundation of Spotify. Having an idea and building a global company are two completely different things. Daniel knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed someone who understood business at the level. That person was Martin Lawrenson. Martin had already built technology companies and had experience scaling businesses. When Daniel shared his vision, it sounded almost impossible. A service where people could instantly play millions of songs. No waiting, no downloads, just press play. Today that sounds ordinary. Then it sounded crazy. Internet speeds were slower. Streaming technology was still developing. The biggest obstacle wasn't engineering. It was trust. To launch Spotify, they needed permission from the world's record labels. Those companies had already watched piracy destroy billions of dollars in revenue. Why would they trust two entrepreneurs from Sweden? Meeting after meeting, the answer was often the same. No. Some executives thought streaming would destroy music forever. Others believed the business model could never make money. Every rejection forced Daniel back to the drawing board. Of giving up, he kept improving the product. He believed one thing with conviction. If Spotify became faster, simpler, and better than piracy, people would choose it. That belief shaped every decision. The team obsessed over speed. A song couldn't take seconds to load. It had to start instantly. If users clicked play, the music had to feel immediate. That tiny detail became one of Spotify's competitive advantages. While others focused on features, Spotify focused on experience. Months turned into years. The pressure kept growing. Money was being spent. Time was running out. The music industry was still skeptical. Friends wondered if the idea was too ambitious. Competitors were appearing everywhere. Failure seemed like a possibility. Daniel refused to lower his standards. He believed that if they compromised the experience, they would lose the future. Then, after negotiations, something extraordinary happened. One major label became willing to listen. Then another. Slowly, the impossible began to look possible. It wasn't because Daniel had the company. It wasn't because he had the money. It was because he presented a vision. A future where artists could earn money, listeners could enjoy access, and piracy would finally have a real alternative. It wasn't a victory. Every agreement involved negotiations. Every contract carried risk. One mistake could end everything before Spotify even launched. Step by step, the walls began to crack. The industry that once rejected the idea was beginning to believe it. Still, the biggest test hadn't arrived. Building Spotify was difficult. Launching Spotify would be even harder, because when the product finally reached users, the entire world would decide whether Daniel's vision was brilliant or one of the biggest failures in technology history. the launch that changed the music industry forever. For years, Spotify had been nothing but an impossible dream, a dream rejected by record labels, questioned by investors, doubted by almost everyone who heard it. Now, the moment of truth had finally arrived. If users loved Spotify, the music industry would never be the same. If they didn't, everything Daniel Ek and his team had built would collapse. There was no plan, no second chance. One launch, one product, millions of people waiting to see if it actually worked. The first version of Spotify wasn't perfect. The music library was smaller than it is today. The app still had bugs. Servers occasionally struggled. Every day brought technical problems. One thing shocked everyone who tried it: speed. You clicked a song, it started almost instantly. In an era when people expected buffering, waiting, slowed downloads, Spotify felt almost magical. For the time, listening to music legally felt easier than stealing it. That single advantage changed everything. People weren't choosing Spotify because it was free. They were choosing it because it was simply better. Users started telling friends. Friends invited friends. The waiting list grew longer every week. Spotify wasn't spreading through advertising. It was spreading through excitement. Every satisfied listener became another salesperson. Daniel watched the numbers every morning. More users, more listening hours, more artists joining platform. For the time, the impossible idea was becoming reality. Success created a brand new problem. The faster Spotify grew, the more expensive it became to operate. Streaming millions of songs every day required infrastructure, powerful servers, constant software improvements, licensing payments, a growing engineering team. Money disappeared faster than ever. Growth was exciting. Growth without enough funding could destroy a company overnight. Daniel faced reality. Spotify needed investment. Without it, the dream could end before reaching the world. Meeting investors wasn't easy. Many couldn't understand the business. Some asked, why would anyone pay for music if they can already download it for free? Others believed streaming would never become profitable. Again, Daniel heard the word. No, another rejection, another closed door, another investor walking away. Rejection wasn't new. He had lived with it for years. Instead of changing the vision, he improved the numbers, improved the product, improved the strategy. Eventually, investors started noticing something to ignore. People weren't leaving Spotify. They were staying, listening longer, coming back every day. That's when confidence slowly began to change. Investment followed. The company survived another year, then another. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Artists who once feared streaming started discovering fans around the world. Independent musicians suddenly had a platform where anyone could hear their music. Small creators could stand beside superstars. The entire industry slowly began changing. Record labels that once rejected Spotify now depended on it. The company that had struggled to earn trust had become one of the music industry's important partners. Daniel had proven something. People don't always reject change because it's bad. Sometimes they reject it because they can't imagine it. Spotify's biggest battle was still ahead. Competition. Technology giants had noticed the streaming revolution. Some of the companies in the world entered the market. They had budgets, larger ecosystems, millions of existing customers. Many experts believe Spotify's journey was over. How can a small Swedish company survive against tech giants? The pressure was enormous. Every new competitor threatened Spotify's future. Every year became a fight for survival. Daniel knew one mistake could erase everything. Panicking, he focused on one simple principle: make Spotify better every day. New features, personalized recommendations, better playlists, smarter discovery, a smoother experience. Spotify wasn't trying to be the biggest, it was trying to be the best. Users noticed. The platform continued growing across Europe, across America, eventually across the world. What began as one entrepreneur's solution to piracy had become one of the biggest technology companies on Earth. Success came with another challenge: one that Daniel never expected, because building Spotify was a beginning. Now he had to answer a harder question. How do you keep changing an industry after you've already changed the world? The legacy of Spotify, and the lesson that changed everything. Daniel Ek had done what many believed was impossible. He did not create music. He did not create the internet. He did not create streaming. He put those ideas together into something really simple and really powerful. That changed an entire business. Today, lots of people use Spotify around the world. Millions of songs get streamed every day. Thousands of artists have made careers because listeners can find their music easily. What seemed impossible has become normal. If you ask Daniel Ek what made Spotify successful, the answer is not money. It is not luck. It is not perfect timing. It was one to solve a problem that everyone else accepted. When the music business was fighting piracy, Daniel did not ask, how do we stop people? He asked, why are people leaving in place? That one change in thinking changed everything. While others focused on protecting what they had, he focused on building something. That's a lesson that applies to many areas. The biggest chances are often hidden inside the problems. Most people run away from problems. The few who solve them change the world. Spotify's story also teaches another lesson. Success is not built in one moment. It is built through small decisions. Every line of code, every meeting that did not work out, every failed pitch, every sleepless night, every small improvement. People often celebrate the company. They do not see the years when nobody believed it would survive. That's the part most success stories leave out. Yet, that's the part that matters the most. Today, Spotify keeps changing. The company expanded into podcasts, audiobooks, creator tools, and personalized recommendations. There is still competition. Technology keeps changing. People's habits keep changing. The business still faces challenges. One thing has not changed. The mindset that built Spotify. Keep improving, keep adapting, keep solving problems. Because companies that stop changing eventually disappear. History has shown that again and again. Now, think about your life. Maybe you are starting with little. Maybe people do not understand your dream. Maybe you have already been rejected. Maybe you have failed times. That does not mean your story is over. Daniel Ek's story reminds us that your beginning does not decide your ending. The world rarely rewards a person with a dream. It rewards a person who keeps showing up, even when nobody is watching. Success is not about having the plan. It is about not quitting when the plan changes. One decision, one skill, one chance can completely change your life. Only if you're still in the game when that chance arrives. So the time you use Spotify, remember, behind every song, behind every playlist, behind every recommendation, was once a young entrepreneur with a simple idea that almost everyone thought would fail. The world remembers companies. History remembers the people who had the courage to build them. Maybe, years from now, someone will tell your story the way. Not because life was easy, because you did not give up. If the story inspired, you do not just admire it. Apply it. Because the distance between ordinary and extraordinary is often one decision made at the right time. If you enjoy stories about people who started with nothing and changed the world, subscribe to Rise from Zero and turn on notifications. Every week we uncover the journeys behind the world's greatest entrepreneurs, innovators, survivors, and visionaries, proving that every empire begins at zero. Remember, every big company was once an idea. Every legend was once unknown. Every extraordinary journey starts from zero.